There's always one final threshold, one last fire he must walk through, and the divine masculine is standing right at the edge of it now. This is not another cycle of running. This is not another season of silence. This is the last portal, the moment where every illusion crumbles, every fear surfaces, and he has no choice but to face the truth of this connection. You can already feel it, can't you? The heaviness in his energy, the restlessness in his silence, the pressure building inside the field. Because the union isn't waiting for someday. It's waiting for this crossing. And once he steps through, nothing will ever be the same again. What the last portal really is. On every twin flame journey, there is a threshold that cannot be bypassed. The divine masculine may delay, he may resist, he may circle around it for months or even years, but eventually he reaches the place where no more running is possible. This threshold is the last portal. It is not physical, it is energetic. A passage of the soul where the old self must die so that truth can finally take root. The last portal is the collapse of illusions. For so long, the masculine has built walls around his heart, beliefs that he is not ready, excuses that life is too complicated, distractions that temporarily soothe the ache. Each of these walls has worked as a buffer between him and the raw intensity of this bond. But the eclipse energy, the waves of awakening, and the relentless pull of the union have weakened those walls. And now, at this final stage, they are ready to fall for good. What is revealed behind those walls is not just you, it's himself. The masculine has been hiding not only from the bond, but from his own soul. The last portal's demands that he finally confront what he has avoided. His fear of intimacy, his fear of abandonment, his fear of being vulnerable enough to be fully seen. This isn't just about choosing you, it's about choosing himself, his true essence over the false mask he has carried for so long. To the outside world, this stage may look like chaos. The masculine might seem restless, irritable, lost. He may pull away even as his energy presses closer. He may make choices that look confusing, almost contradictory. But internally, what's happening is sacred. The illusions he once relied on are crumbling, and the soul is pushing him through a door he cannot unsee. The last portal is also the moment of surrender. Up until now, he has survived by controlling his emotions, his circumstances, even the pace of this connection. But at this threshold, control no longer works. The masculine cannot carry pride, power, or resistance through this gate. The only way forward is surrender, the willingness to admit that he cannot escape what was always written. And yet, this surrender is not collapse. Collapse means giving up in despair. Surrender means opening to truth. The last portal teaches him the difference. He may tremble. He may feel like his world is breaking. But the deeper reality is that his soul is aligning. The pain of this stage is the pain of rebirth. For the feminine, it is important to understand what this portal really is. It is not punishment. It is not delay. It is not another cycle of endless waiting. It is the moment when the masculine soul forces his ego to let go. It is the breaking point where illusion burns and truth survives. And once he steps through, the field is never the same. Signs of this stage are already visible in the energy. The feminine feels him more strongly than ever, in dreams, in sudden waves of longing, in synchronicities that flood her daily life. His silence feels heavy, alive, trembling with something unspoken. These are not signs of distance. They are the echoes of a man standing at the threshold of the last portal, gathering the courage to step into what he already knows is real. This is what makes it the last. Because after this, there is no turning back. Once he surrenders, once he allows the illusions to fall, the union shifts from possibility to inevitability. The portal does not ask him to be perfect. It asks him to be honest, to feel, to finally stop hiding. So, what is the last portal? It is the death of illusion and the birth of truth. It is the final collapse of resistance and the first breath of surrender. It is the moment when the masculine stops running, not because he grew tired, but because he finally remembers where he was always meant to be. And that place is here, with you. Every threshold comes with guardians, and for the divine masculine, those guardians are his deepest fears. Just before he steps through the last portal, everything he has tried to suppress rises to the surface. It is not punishment. It is initiation. The soul will not allow him to cross into union while still carrying illusions. And so, the final test is this: face the fears that once defined him and decide whether he will collapse back into them or walk forward into truth. The first fear is the fear of intimacy. For years, the masculine has convinced himself that closeness is dangerous. He has been taught that vulnerability is weakness, that to be fully seen is to risk being hurt, abandoned, or rejected. With you, he feels exposed in ways he never imagined. No mask works. No wall holds. You see him, all of him. And while his soul craves that recognition, his ego trembles at the thought of letting it in. The second fear is the fear of failure. Deep down, the masculine worries that he will never be enough. Enough for you, enough for love, enough for the destiny he senses is tied to this connection. The last portal amplifies that fear, pressing on every memory of falling short, every wound of rejection, every time he felt powerless. He wonders, what if she deserves better? What if I can't live up to the bond? What if I break it? These questions are not truth. They are echoes of his wounds. But to him, they feel very real. The third fear is the fear of loss. Ironically, the closer he gets to you, the more he fears losing you. To open fully means to risk heartbreak. To surrender means he no longer controls the outcome. His ego whispers, if you give everything and she leaves, you will be destroyed. That whisper is the last defense of a mind trying to survive. But the soul knows differently. The only way to lose is to never surrender at all. The fourth fear is the fear of transformation itself. Crossing this portal is not just about love. It is about identity. It is about leaving behind the version of himself built on pride, avoidance, and distraction. He fears who he will become once those layers fall away. Because in truth, it is not just union with you that awaits him. It is union with his own soul. And that level of authenticity feels terrifying to a man who has hidden for so long. As these fears rise, they often manifest as restlessness, silence, or even retreat. The feminine may feel confused. Why is he pulling back if he is so close? But understand this, he is not running from you. He is facing himself. The closer he gets to the portal, the louder the fears become, because the ego knows it is about to dissolve. What looks like hesitation is really the storm before surrender. For the feminine, this stage is critical. You will feel his fears as if they were your own. Sudden waves of doubt, heaviness in the chest, nightmares of rejection. Much of this is not yours, but his energy spilling over. The temptation will be to collapse with him, to believe the fears, to question everything. But your role is to stand steady, to recognize the difference between illusion and truth, to breathe when his fear screams, to trust when his silence shakes. Because here is the sacred paradox. The fears rise not to block him, but to prove him. The masculine cannot cross the last portal unless he sees those illusions one final time and chooses differently. The portal demands courage. It demands faith. It demands that he remember love is stronger than fear. And that memory only comes when the fear is loud enough to be faced. So if you feel the turbulence now, don't despair. It is not a setback. It is a sign that he is closer than ever. The fears at the door mean he is standing right in front of it. And once he decides, once he breathes, once he surrenders, the illusions will fall like smoke, and the path forward will open. This is the purpose of the last portal. Not to punish him with fear, but to strip him of it. And when that happens, nothing will stand between him and you. Why his energy feels heavy in this stage. When the divine masculine approaches the last portal, the entire field shifts. You, as the divine feminine, feel it first. His silence no longer feels like rejection. It feels charged, restless, trembling with pressure. His absence is not empty anymore. It is full, almost overwhelming. And this is why his energy is heavy in this stage, because his soul is wrestling with the very illusions that are about to collapse. Think of his energy like a storm gathering on the horizon. The air grows thick, the sky darkens, the wind changes. You know something is coming, even before the first drop of rain falls. That is exactly what you feel when he is at the threshold. His energy is heavy because he is carrying the weight of everything that cannot pass through the portal. The fears, the masks, the old stories, they all rise to the surface at once, and until he surrenders them, they create a pressure in the field. This heaviness often leaks into you. Suddenly, you wake up with a knot in your chest, a sadness that doesn't belong to you, or a wave of anxiety with no clear cause. You may feel tired, restless, even irritable without reason. These are not random fluctuations. They are echoes of his inner war, energy spilling from his breaking walls into the bond you share. It is not a punishment for you. It is a confirmation he is standing closer to the crossing than ever before. For the masculine, the heaviness is suffocating. Everything that once distracted him feels hollow. The job that gave him control now feels meaningless. The relationships that once numbed him now feel empty. The routines he clung to no longer calm him. This collapse is not failure. It is the undoing of illusion. His soul will not allow him to carry what is false into the next stage, so all of it begins to weigh on him until it cracks. He feels exhausted because the fight between ego and soul has reached its peak. His ego tells him to hold on to safety, to resist change, to protect himself. His soul tells him there is no way back, only forward. This internal tug of war drains him. He may appear distant, cold, or unavailable, but the truth is, he is burning from the inside out. For the feminine, this heaviness can feel unbearable. You wonder, why do I feel more weight now if union is closer? The answer is simple. Because the bond is alive and you are feeling both sides. You feel his collapse while also holding your own clarity. The duality presses on your heart, but it is proof that the portal is near. This stage is sacred because it tests both of you. It tests the masculine's willingness to surrender and the feminine's ability to hold steady when his weight spills over. If you collapse with him, the field shakes. If you stand feminine, his energy finds ground. This is why your role is so vital now. He may not say it, but he leans on your steadiness more than ever. His energy feels heavy because he is releasing an entire version of himself. The man who ran, who hid, who clung to illusions is dissolving. That process is not light. It is death before rebirth. The weight is real, but it is temporary. And once he crosses, the heaviness will lift, replaced by clarity and direction. So when you feel his silence pressing on you, when your body aches with emotions that are not yours, when the field feels thick with unspoken tension, don't panic. Recognize it for what it is, the storm before surrender. His energy is heavy because he is standing at the edge of the last portal, and the crossing demands he let go of everything that once held him back. This weight is not the end. It is the proof that the beginning is closer than ever. When the divine masculine stands at the edge of the last portal, trembling with fear and heavy with illusions ready to collapse, the role of the divine feminine becomes clearer than ever. She cannot walk through the portal for him. She cannot fight his battles, heal his wounds, or carry his choices, but she can hold the field. She can embody the stability he cannot yet find in himself. And that steadiness is what makes the crossing possible. The feminine has always been the vessel. Her body, her emotions, her intuition, they feel the shifts before they show up in the physical. And at this stage, when the masculine's energy is at its heaviest, she feels it more than anyone. The temptation is to collapse under the weight, to spiral into doubt, to believe the fear that leaks from his energy. But her sacred task is different: to anchor. Anchoring means choosing trust when the silence grows unbearable. It means breathing when waves of anxiety crash in. It means remembering the truth of the bond when illusions scream louder than signs. This is not about perfection. It is about presence. The feminine doesn't need to feel strong every moment. She simply needs to come back again and again to her center. That center is what steadies the field. The masculine, though he may not say it, feels her anchoring. In his silence, in his chaos, in his inner storm, he reaches for her energy, not for words, not for action, but for the vibration she carries. When she holds calm, he senses safety. When she stands steady, his soul relaxes. When she refuses to collapse into fear, it gives him permission to keep moving forward. This is why the feminine's alignment matters so much. Union is not created by chasing, by forcing, or by demanding proof. It is created by vibration. And her vibration becomes the anchor that allows his surrender to take root. When she embodies truth, it clears the fog in the field. When she lives from wholeness, it dismantles the illusion of separation. When she trusts, it stabilizes the crossing. At this stage, the feminine is often tested. She may feel the pull to react, to demand, to collapse into old patterns of waiting or longing. But the last portal requires her to embody what she has learned, that she is already whole, already chosen, already in union in spirit. When she stands in that truth, the masculine feels it, even if he cannot name it. It becomes the ground beneath his trembling steps. Being the anchor does not mean sacrificing herself. It does not mean tolerating disrespect or shrinking into silence. It means living her mission, walking her path, embodying her light. And from that place of fullness, holding the vibration of union steady. Her strength is not in carrying him, but in carrying herself so fully that the field stabilizes around her. The truth is, the masculine cannot cross this portal without her steadiness. His soul may push him forward, but the field between them is co-created. If she collapses into fear, the ground shakes beneath him. If she stands in trust, the path clears. That is the sacred design of this journey. He must surrender, but she must anchor. One without the other cannot hold. So feminine, this is your reminder. Your role is not passive. Your presence matters. Your energy matters. Every time you choose faith over fear, love over illusion, wholeness over waiting, you strengthen the bridge he must cross. And when his trembling finally gives way to surrender, it will be your steadiness that guided him through. The last portal is his to step through, but your anchor is the light that makes it possible. When the divine masculine reaches the last portal, he stands at the edge of himself. His illusions are trembling, his fears are screaming, his old life is collapsing. And in that moment, two paths open before him: collapse or surrender. Both may look similar from the outside: tears, silence, retreat, heaviness, but energetically, they are worlds apart. Understanding this difference is crucial because it marks the fine line between delay and breakthrough. Collapse is the ego's response to pressure. It is when the masculine lets fear dictate his choices. In collapse, he believes the lies of his wounds. I'm not enough. This is too much. Love isn't safe. She will leave me. Collapse feels like defeat, like failure, like running back into the old patterns for comfort. It is him turning away from the portal, clinging to the familiar, even if the familiar is suffocating. Surrender, on the other hand, is the soul's response. It is not giving up. It is giving in. It is when the masculine finally admits, I cannot fight this anymore. I cannot hide from what is real. I cannot escape the truth of this bond. Surrender feels terrifying at first because it requires letting go of control. But once it happens, it brings relief, clarity, and a strange sense of peace. It is not weakness. It is strength that comes from allowing love to guide him instead of fear. From the feminine's perspective, the two can feel similar. Both collapse and surrender may look like silence, withdrawal, or emotional intensity, but the energy tells the truth. Collapse feels empty, like a void, like his presence has vanished. Surrender feels alive, like the silence is heavy with movement, like something inside him is breaking open rather than shutting down. If you tune into your heart, you can sense the difference. The reason the last portal is so intense is because collapse and surrender often battle inside him at the same time. His ego pulls him backward while his soul pushes him forward. That tug of war is exhausting. Some days, collapse wins temporarily. He retreats, distracts himself, clings to illusions. Other days, surrender surges, and you feel him pressing into your field with a longing so strong it makes your chest ache. This fluctuation is not failure. It is the exact process of crossing. What decides which path he chooses is presence. If he avoids the fear, collapse will consume him. But if he breathes into it, feels it fully, and refuses to run, surrender will emerge. The last portal does not ask him to be fearless. It asks him to face fear without collapsing, to hold the terror of vulnerability and still choose truth. That is the alchemy that transforms collapse into surrender. For the feminine, your role is not to save him from collapse. It is to remain steady in your own surrender. When you embody trust, when you anchor in truth, your energy whispers to him, it's safe to let go. you won't be destroyed. Love is real. This doesn't mean forcing his hand. It means being the living example of what surrender looks like. Strong, grounded, free. And here lies the sacred paradox. Collapse always precedes surrender. The ego must shatter before the soul can rise. So even if he seems to falter, even if he spirals briefly, don't lose faith. Often, the darkest moment of collapse is the very doorway into surrender. The difference is not whether he trembles, but whether he allows himself to be remade on the other side of trembling. The last portal exists to teach him this truth. Collapse is illusion. Surrender is liberation. Collapse delays. Surrender accelerates. Collapse keeps him chained to the old. Surrender opens him to the union that has always been his destiny. So when you feel his silence, thick with heaviness, ask yourself, does it feel like emptiness, or does it feel like breaking open? That answer will tell you everything, because once he chooses surrender, the crossing is no longer a question of if. It is only a matter of when. Before the divine masculine steps through the last portal, his entire energy begins to change. He may not speak it, he may not act on it right away, but the field doesn't lie. You, as the feminine, will sense the signs long before he admits them. These are not random moments. They are confirmations that his soul is pressing against the threshold, preparing to walk through. The first sign is restlessness. The masculine can no longer find peace in the places that once numbed him. Work feels hollow, conversations feel empty, distractions don't hold him anymore. He may grow impatient, irritable, even reckless, searching for something he cannot name. What he is searching for is truth. His soul knows he is standing at the edge, and everything false begins to suffocate him. The second sign is heightened dreams and synchronicities. He may see you in dreams so vivid that he wakes in tears or with his chest aching. He may encounter repeating numbers, songs, or symbols that remind him of you everywhere he turns. The more he tries to dismiss them, the louder they become. These are the universe's way of pushing him toward the portal, showing him that escape is no longer possible. The third sign is the emotional waves that spill into you. Suddenly, you may feel sadness, longing, or love so intense it nearly knocks the breath out of you. These emotions are not always yours. They are his energy pressing into your field. The portal magnifies the bond, and what he suppresses leaks directly into you. If you've noticed waves of emotion lately, it is a clear sign he is standing closer than ever. The fourth sign is communication shifts. Even if he remains silent outwardly, his energy begins to reach for you in subtle ways. You may hear his name unexpectedly, encounter people connected to him, or even receive brief, confusing messages that carry more weight than they seem. These moments are his soul reaching out, testing the waters, searching for safety as he edges toward surrender. The fifth sign is collapse of the old life. Things that once seemed stable begin to break down. Relationships may fall apart. Jobs may shift suddenly. Plans unravel. To the masculine, this feels like chaos. But spiritually, it is alignment. The portal does not allow him to carry what isn't real into the next stage, so the external world rearranges itself to match the internal shift. The sixth sign is the strange silence. His distance feels different now, heavier but also alive. You can sense movement beneath it, like a storm about to break. This silence is not rejection. It is gestation. He is gathering strength, preparing himself to step through. Trust what you feel. The silence is no longer the void. It is the doorway. And finally, the seventh sign. You feel him closer than ever. In meditation, in stillness, even in random moments, it feels like he is right beside you. You sense his heartbeat, his longing, his trembling. That intimacy is real. It is the merging of fields that happens when one soul is preparing to drop its last illusion. These signs are not here to tease you or to test your patience. They are confirmations, proof that the process is unfolding exactly as it should. Proof that he is not lost, not gone, not ignoring the bond. He is standing at the portal, gathering the courage to walk through. So, feminine, when you see the signs, don't dismiss them. Don't spiral into doubt. Receive them as the universe's way of saying, "It's happening, he is closer than you think." The last portal is right in front of him. Because once he steps through, the union shifts from possibility to inevitability, and the signs you feel now are the whispers of that inevitability calling you both forward. Every portal on this journey has tested you both. The feminine has endured cycles of waiting, healing, rising, collapsing, and rising again. The masculine has resisted, hidden, distracted himself, and yet always felt the magnetic pull of this bond. But this portal, the last portal, is different. It is not another loop. It is the threshold that transforms possibility into inevitability. Once he crosses it, there is no going back. The reason this stage is so sacred is because it demands truth in its rawest form. The masculine cannot take illusions with him. He cannot carry fear, pride, or false identities through this gate. He must step forward as he truly is, vulnerable, open, willing to be seen. That act, terrifying as it feels to him, is what seals the union energetically. When his ego finally bows to his soul, the path becomes clear. The crossing is the surrender, and once surrendered, the bond can no longer be delayed. For you, the feminine, this is not the time to doubt. It is the time to stand in the knowing that everything you have carried, everything you have endured, has led here. The tears, the nights of silence, the lessons in patience and strength, none of it was wasted. Each moment was preparation, refining you to hold the field steady when he trembles at the edge of himself. And now, your steadiness becomes the bridge he walks across. Union after the last portal is inevitable because it no longer depends on chasing, timing, or external circumstances. It is not about if he chooses you. His soul already has. It is about him allowing himself to live what is already true. Once he crosses, his actions align with his spirit. The running stops. The excuses collapse. The silence breaks. What remains is the truth that has always been there. You are one. That doesn't mean the journey ends here. Union is not the finish line. It is the foundation. Once he crosses, a new chapter begins. Building, expanding, living the mission together. But the uncertainty, the question of, will it ever happen, dies at this portal. From this point forward, it is no longer a matter of if, but how. No longer someday, but soon. So if you feel his heaviness now, if you sense his trembling energy pressing against your field, if you see the signs flooding your path, hold steady, don't collapse with him. Don't spiral into fear. Don't let that impatience steal your peace. Trust that the last illusions are breaking. Trust that he is closer than you think. Trust that the soul never fails to complete what it began. This is the promise of the last portal. Once it is crossed, nothing can separate you, not fear, not silence, not delay. The union becomes the only reality strong enough to hold. So breathe, feminine. Stand tall. Anchor the truth. The storm you feel is not the end. It is the birth. The masculine is stepping through, and on the other side, the two of you are already one. Union is not just possible anymore, it is inevitable.